Welcome to the October 26, 2017 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, Vyse the Bold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
Watashi wa OldManStompy. Desu.
Oh!
So yeah, I just came back from Japan, and Vyse was grateful enough to allow me to spend another episode of Reactive Consciousness talking about the trip that I took, because, you know, we never do that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I figured I need you to recite line for line what Pyro did. That way everybody can hear it, but from your voice.
Unfortunately, I don't listen to this podcast, so I don't actually know what he said about Japan.
Oh, no!
That'll be even more impressive if you were, like, the same monkey typing back Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Which would be
cool. We need at least 997 more Japan trips.
It was the worst of Japanese occasions.
Stupid monkey. Before we move on to that, which will be, of course, the main part of the show, even though, you know, everybody already knows it. I did really quickly want to mention some things I did hear from my girlfriend. I put in a lot of effort to her celebrating her birthday this week. If you had listened to Corrective, which I'm sure you didn't.
I didn't.
Why would you listen to us twice? For the love of God.
That assumes I was listening the first time.
Yeah. What ended up happening was I took off basically like 5 days in a row in order to celebrate her birthday and hang out with her friends who had come from another country, Venezuela and Spain, respectively. And we did a lot of things, but I was particularly proud of the gifts I had given her. One of them being one of her favorite flowers is sunflowers. She loves sunflowers and orchids. And I did this thing where I wanted to get her a whole bunch of sunflower themed things to make it a lot of fun. I ended up getting her a really nice bouquet of that featured sunflowers from a local florist that did a fantastic job, and she absolutely loves them. I really wanted to mention that. I also ended up getting her a couple other things, one of them being I guess the main gift I gave her was I wrote her a poem. I tend to write haikus when I write poems because I feel like I like the succinct nature of them. It gets the point across in few lines, and it's also kind of a challenge to do that. So I really like putting together haikus because you have to say everything in a very limited amount of space. It's 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, and I really like the format of them. And it also is subtle in that way because you can't reiterate anything. You have to use the real estate for everything. So I was particularly proud of the poem that I put together for her. And I also put it in a sunflower themed frame that I bought online. So it was a full package. I don't know if you guys want to hear the poem, but I will read it very shortly. So, sharp rocks lined the road, breathed the smell of sunflowers. Relieved, I went on. So that was my haiku, and I really wanted to express to her how much I enjoy being with her, and how much relief she gives to me during my day when I spend time with her. All the moments I'm with her have been great, and we just get along very well, and she's like a breath of fresh air to me. So, I also took a little bit of inspiration from Samurai Champloo. I don't know if you.
I was
guys
actually
know the
wondering
story
about
there.
that with the sunflowers.
Yeah, a little bit. Just took a little bit of the idea there.
And maybe a little from
ran
Killer
with it.
Instinct with the orchid.
There were no orchids at all. Yeah, I take all of my inspiration from Killer Cuts, the album
Yeah,
that was included with my Super Nintendo.
yeah.
No lie, it was.
Nice.
And I also gave her some sunflower themed lollipops. So I just wanted to talk about that. And I ended up trying to make her a sunflower themed cocktail, but that didn't end up tasting very good. So I guess hit or miss with some of those things. But overall, she felt extremely loved and very happy that somebody had written something for her. So.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Now, get on to your whatever you think.
Hey, get the fuck out of my episode. I mean,
move on to that thing that other people have already done.
You were actually in Japan, OldManStompy. I hope you got haikus for days.
I have 0 haikus. I did not hear anybody speak in haiku the whole time that I was there. The advertisement was totally wrong.
Oh.
So
I have a sonnet for you. Roses are red, Vyses fuck off.
that doesn't rhyme.
A B A B C D C D E D E D. Get the hell out.
No iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
Plus.
Just sit back and you'll hear a tale.
No trochaic tetrameter.
Shut the fuck up.
I don't even have to like abuse Vyse anymore. He just does it to himself when I'm on the podcast.
Maximum efficiency.
I feel like I'm gonna have to start being nice, and he'll just get confused.
I know you're doing it ironically, so you can't fool me.
Yes, ironically. Anyway, so I will have you know that I was in Japan for 2 weeks, while Pyro was only there for 1. So I did everything he did twice, exactly.
Well, that's our show for this week.
He went to the 2-piece themed.
So, actually, one of the most unusual things we did was actually because of Pyro, because he plays that Grand Blue Fantasy game, and it turns out that there's a promotion going on at Japanese McDonald's, for the game, like a collaborative event. So today I learned that you can go to McDonald's, and if you buy so they have meals. That are supposed to be Grand Blue Fantasy themed, but they're just regular McDonald's meals that have Gran at the start of the title. So it's
that's weak.
Gran Teriyaki Burger. I mean, there's art around the restaurant that looks like Grand Blue Fantasy, the characters dressed up in McDonald's uniforms and stuff. But the food is just stupid McDonald's food.
So you just threw it right in the trash or right in the toilet where it belongs.
No, this actually calls back to our. Well, it was real quick. This actually calls back to our listener question we had last week, right? About trusting brand names. OldManStompy goes to Japan, hits up at McDonald's.
Well, I mean, I didn't go on my own volition. I went because Pyro wanted me to go and take pictures of the stuff for his game.
What a
But as it
sinister
turns
plan.
out, we were thinking about getting the toys or whatever. We didn't really know what the promotion was like, but we had a friend of ours who was basically our tour guide for this trip. He's a Japanese national who lives in San Francisco, and he did all the translating for us and helped us navigate Tokyo and
cool.
surrounding countryside. He told us that
How'd you get hooked up with him?
He's a friend of a friend, so we were invited on this trip by one of my wife's friends. She was already going with 3 of her travel buddies, and one of them had offered to do the translation work for us.
That's
so
really nice.
We attached ourselves to this trip. That's why it wound up being a random trip in the middle of October instead of sort of linking up with all the other trips that our friends have been taking to Japan lately, or something that we organize on our own with other Corcon adjacent people.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This guy he played Grand Blue Fantasy. And he wanted to go to the store to pick up the promotion. He did it twice. You can go once every week for 3 weeks, and you have to buy the burgers and take a picture of the burger wrapper with your phone, and then this is app that checks your GPS to make sure that you're actually at a participating McDonald's, and then it gives you the item on your phone. It's very involved.
If only you stayed one more week to get a perfect file of Grand Blue Fantasy.
Yeah, he actually said the item you get for it is really good, and you get like 9 of them if you do it all 3 weeks. And you need 10, so you only need to find 1 in the game itself. And you know, for people who know what it's like to grind for items in a mobile game, that's like a big leg up.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an oddball thing that we did that I guarantee Pyro didn't do because he asked us to do it for him. Otherwise, the general structure of the trip was that we spent the first like I was there for 2 weeks. We spent the first 3.5 days or so in Tokyo. Then we went to Kyoto for another like 4 days, and then we went to Osaka for a day and a half. Then back to Tokyo for the rest of the trip. Overall, I thought it was a lot of fun. It sort of doubled as an anniversary present to my wife because we were married 2 years ago yesterday. So we got back right at the end of that. It also was kind of our honeymoon. We didn't have a chance to take a long vacation after we got married. So it was our first like really big vacation together as a couple, besides going to fucking conventions like MagFest. not that I have a problem with that, but it's not like exactly what you have in mind.
Yeah, that's not an intimate
like,
thing.
A romantic relationship, you know, like a vacation with your significant other.
Yeah, time for a honeymoon in a hotel room with like 8 other people. We're hanging out playing video games.
That sounds like a lot of fun, certainly. I will say that I felt much more connected than I was expecting. I mentioned during Corrective Consciousness I got a pocket Wi-Fi and stuck it in my backpack. That meant that I had like access to 4G speed, 4G LTE speed Wi-Fi basically the entire trip, unless the Wi-Fi like ran out of battery. So yeah, I downloaded the Professor Layton game on my 3DS in the middle of like a soba restaurant in a mall while I was waiting for my food, and that became like my leisure activity for the rest of the trip, just like playing some puzzles while I was waiting for a train.
Sure.
That was nice. The first day we went to Odaiba, which is where the giant Gundam is. I assume Pyro went there. I didn't actually listen to his...
Yeah, he did go there, but it was just before it was being finished, and it had been finished before you had arrived, I believe.
Oh, nice. So we got to see it transform. I have a couple pictures of that.
That's crazy.
It was pretty. I mean, I wouldn't say that it like really transforms. It's just like the face mask comes down and like the little crest opens up. It's not like
cool. That was the part that hadn't been finished.
Right. Well, it's done now. And also, there was a press conference for the next like big New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view event. So I got to watch a New Japan Pro Wrestling press conference with the heavyweight title contenders, Kazuchika Okada, the current champion, and his challenger, this guy who goes only by Evil. Like okay. he's a bad guy, in case it isn't obvious. It's actually really funny because he's supposed to sound. I assume that this is one of those things where he's supposed to sound intimidating to Japanese fans, but he does in this like really like husky, serious voice. Like his catchphrase in English is like, "This is evil. Everything is evil." And
that's
like,
fantastic.
Wow.
And so there's I was only introduced to this where there's like some press conference where he's doing the sketch and like the camera is focusing on Kenny Omega behind him, who's like doing the same, who's like lip syncing the same thing with like really exaggerated facial features the whole time, like making fun of him while he's giving his promo. And I was like, oh man, like that's supposed to be the point. He's like a foreigner and he's making fun of this like really intimidating Japanese guy. But like when he did the catchphrase, everybody was laughing in the crowd too, and it was all like local people from Tokyo.
So maybe it just doesn't sound as intimidating as he'd hoped.
I guess he's just a supervillain.
Yeah, like it's very clear that he's overacting.
Yeah, he's very hammy.
I love stuff like that though. It's like Doctor Doom, like in the comics. It's like, dude, come on! Like the way he talks is hilarious.
Your name is Doom. Like, come on.
No, but I mean, this guy's name is Evil.
No, but I mean, like even that one kind of famous out of context panel where like Squirrel Girl's attacking him with a million squirrels, like just the way he talks, it's like every time I throw one off, more come to vex me.
They vex me so. Yes.
Yeah, it's like he talks like I don't know, like I mean I would say he talks like a comic book villain, but no actual comic book villains but him talk like that. Like it's so outrageous.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was pretty fun to go to like that press conference and get to see like some of these guys I only had watched on the internet previously in person. I haven't seen very many WWF professional wrestlers in person either. I've only been to like 2 live shows, so like this was like way out there for me. There was also a round 1 in Odaiba, but didn't have DDR, so it's useless to me. Who gives a shit?
It had a bunch of American only games.
Actually, the round 1 there, it did have like something called like a round 1 stadium, which is like a party area. Did have an old version of DDR, but it was a pay area. like for parties and stuff. So
I'm just imagining like Japan's version of Round 1 has like Cruisin' USA or something. It's like, oh sweet, can't play this just anywhere.
It has 37 Guitar Hero machines and nothing else.
It's the Konami one that came out in the US.
Right. And the Konami one used like the shitty distributor that made the really crappy American DDR machines.
Like what were they thinking? Like,
and that was like before Konami sued what was it, Activision, for using the guitar controller because they had already used it in Guitar Freaks.
Oh.
They're so dumb. Like, why would you partner with a company that and then sue them? Like,
I can't remember the timeline for this. I feel like that was part of the settlement because technically they were in the right. You know, like, I mean, I guess the similarity between the two games would have to be litigated, but you know, like Guitar Freaks did come, you know, like 15 years before Guitar Hero.
Sure.
So yeah, that was the first day. The next day we went to the Tsukiji Fish Market. We had some fresh fish. Supposedly you can go to this like auction at 6 o'clock in the morning where all like the local like fish vendors, they bid on the latest fresh purchases.
Isn't that where they bid on like the really, really sought after like gigantic fish that show up?
Yeah, like the fatty tuna and stuff.
Like the one Sanji got in One Piece.
No, not like that.
Oh, okay.
Sanji isn't real, Lotus.
He's real to me. Is anime real? Yes. No.
You know where that's from?
What?
It's from like some testimony on like so there's some guy who was like being taken. It's a video. This guy is like being interviewed on whether or not professional wrestling is real, and someone's trying to convince him that it's not. At that point, it had already been exposed, and he's like practically crying. He's like, "It's still real to me, damn it!"
Awesome.
Santa's real if I believe.
Yeah.
If you clap your hands.
So, yeah, we had some really great sushi in the Tsukiji area. We tried to go to this really big temple in Asakusa, but in the afternoon... First off, it was under renovation. And secondly, if you go in the afternoon, it's, like, ridiculously crowded. Like, Tokyo in general is incredibly crowded. It makes me anxious just to be there sometimes. Not that I didn't have fun, but, like, man, it's hard to navigate some of the tourist areas. There's a lot of people. Third day, we finally went to Akihabara, which you'd think would be like the centerpiece for me, but we were going with like 6 people, and we were pulled in so many different directions. I barely got to do any like actual game shopping. Would have been nice, but I realized like the space of games I'd want to buy in Japan that I can reasonably play without just downloading an emulator and a fan translation in the first place is really small. So like there are only so many things I actually want to get. I kind of regretted not like sitting together with Vyse and thinking about some things I might have wanted to pick up like while I was over there. I noticed them advertising a Framemeister to English people to like an English sign for it. So I was like, well, I guess we know who the target audience for this particular store is. I did not go to the.
The big problem with it is they're going to stop making them very very soon, if not have already. Yeah, because they stopped making some of the chips that are used in making them.
Right. So I mean they're quite expensive, but I guess now is a good time to pick one up. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you want to hear the long and short of it, there is a really nice competitor coming out right now, which I pre-ordered.
Nice.
That is open source and constantly improving.
Cool.
That is being made here in the West. That it's mostly made by Americans, but I'm sure there's some European influence in there. But there will be a similar option. Let's just put it that way. That may or may not be better in some ways.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind when I'm doing my shopping. Otherwise, in Akihabara, I did go to an arcade for the first time and actually play DDR. So, like, part of what I wanted to do on this trip was that like there's a certain subset of levels in DDR that are only available in Japan because they just didn't bother to license them for release in America. It's all like vocalized stuff, so nothing of value was lost. But
so you did get some waifu time in.
Yeah, I played the only Hatsune Miku song in the history of DDR.
Wow,
that is pretty weird. Like when you think about it,
that is surprising. Yeah, because they have a lot of rights with Sega, right?
Well, I mean, a lot. So I did notice that Sega has the license. Like they have a couple of random Bimani songs on like Junithm, whatever that game is. And what else? The Vocaloid stuff. It's also been on Taiko no Tatsujin, which is a Bandai Namco game. So
I feel like Sega is more willing to work with other companies than a lot of other companies are.
I mean, it is true. There's a collaboration between Namco Bandai and Sega. Like in the Project Diva games, which are published by Sega, there's some fan art of the characters as the Taiko drums.
And you have the cross-zone games and all those. And all that
yeah,
stuff.
so I guess there's a working agreement that makes it easier for them to share intellectual property. But anyway, yeah, there's one Hatsune Miku song on DDR, period. There's one Ia song. There's a bunch of Gumi stuff. This is all meaningless drivel to Vyse.
Just the different Vocaloids.
Yeah. So I got to play a bunch of those.
The different stuff I don't care about.
Exactly.
Yeah. The different stuff that infects all the stuff that I like.
Well, I should have kicked you off and invited Mr. Ryu on the show.
Yep.
Kick me off of my own show.
It's happened.
And believe me, it'll happen again too. Sooner than you think.
Just you wait.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait to be rid of you people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I managed to make it to an arcade maybe 4 or 5 times over the course of the trip. 2 of them were like dedicated days where I spent the entire night with my wife sort of wishing she was at a bar with her friends while watching me play Dance Dance Revolution.
Wow.
So yeah, after Tokyo we went to Kyoto, which is sort of like the old historical part of Japan, or one of the old historical parts. It's a lot of temples and a lot of really expensive restaurants and a lot of souvenir shops. We went to see. Stop me if Pyro's mentioned some of these before, but we went to 2 of the major UN historical sites: Kiyomizu Temple and Himeji Castle, which is like one of the biggest castles in Japan. It was interesting to climb all the way. Like it's cool to see a skyscraper that was built like 800 years ago, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you look, when you get to the top, you look out and you're higher than any of the surrounding like local residential or commercial buildings, which is pretty impressive. It's built on top of a mountain. It's a great place to catch Pokemon if you're playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had the I had the pocket Wi-Fi, so I was just like on the internet on my phone most of the time. I feel like my wife thought I was bored. Not that, which was a bit unfair. I was just like I have all the internet all the time. I have to take advantage.
And you were like me, bored? That's a bit far fetched, don't you think?
Yes,
and you
exactly.
Whip out your phone.
That's a good segue, because like Farfetch'd is the Japanese exclusive Pokemon Go Pokemon.
Yep.
So I made this joke because we got off the plane at the airport and I open it up and I start playing Pokemon Go, and there's a Farfetch'd right there, and I catch it. I'm like, well, that's it.
OldManStompy, you're contributing to its endangered status as a Pokemon that everybody overate, and now that's the reason why we can't catch it here in America.
Yeah, that's the reason.
Is it supposed to be a dodo or something? Is it like extinct?
Well, it's supposed to be rare because people ate it. Like that's why
it carries the leak. Yeah,
the leak that it's cooked with.
Yeah, I thought it was a reference to Hatsune Miku.
No, that's that's a Pokedex entry.
I know.
Pokemon is far older than Miko.
Thanks, Lotus. I had no idea.
No, but anyway, OldManStompy, continue with your anecdote about the airport catching the Farfetch'd, though.
I mean, that was, I think I posted on Facebook immediately after that. I was like, that's it, we're done here. I did what I came to Japan to do. It's time to go back home. I don't even have to leave the airport. I don't have to go through customs.
Yes.
I found I completed my Pokemon Go Pokédex, or slightly improved it.
This is amazing.
It actually, it was a really low stats Farfetch'd, and I never saw another one the entire trip.
Oh,
despite playing a decent amount of Pokemon Go. Like, the regional exclusives are actually pretty uncommon. So, yeah.
Wow.
My wife's complaining, please let me know if you see another one, because the last thing I need is a trophy Farfetch'd, taking up space in my, limited inventory space that costs real money to expand. But we never saw another one.
Wow.
Yeah, anyway, after the castles, we ate a lot of good food. I think that was pretty much the highlight of the trip. We tried to eat at a different restaurant, or a different type of restaurant, pretty much every day. We went to 2 supposedly high-profile ramen places. First was called Ippudo, which was I think there's one in New York too, and that was not quite as good. I guess it's not as exclusive of a taste, so maybe it's a bit homogenized for international taste. Definitely a restaurant that markets towards the tourist crowd. The second place we went to was called Nakiryu. We had heard of it because it was one of the only ramen restaurants in Japan that has a Michelin star, and not that I have a strong palate, but it definitely deserves it, in my opinion. Some of the best ramen I've ever had.
That's amazing.
I'm
jealous.
the line is like an hour to an hour and a half long to get in. There's only like 10 seats in the restaurant. It's definitely well known at this point. Like, people are aware the ramen is really good. It's a famous place. Hard to get into. But worth the wait, in my opinion. It's one of the only places in Japan that makes Chinese-style ramen. It's like the spicy dish called tantan men. You can get something like that here in New York, but the version they have at Nakiryu is the best I've ever had.
Wow.
So if you're in Shinjuku, I recommend checking that out. Let's see what else.
I'll keep that on our list. My girlfriend and I want to go to Japan next year.
Right. There's 2 ramen shops that have a Michelin star, and I didn't get a chance to go check out the other one, but definitely try Nakiryu.
Our intention is to try to get other people to go with us, hopefully more successfully than this year, but Lotus still needs to go, so we definitely want to see whether we could try to sync up with you, and also Retro Gamer wants to go, so
yeah,
nice.
that'd be cool.
So if the more the merrier.
Yeah, it definitely helped a lot to have 6 people on our trip. It allowed us to like rent a pretty large Airbnb when we were in Kyoto and Osaka, to make it a sensible purchase. To be surrounded in like a large area with mostly people we know, to have people to have your back, people to eat lunch with, people to eat dinner with, and like I said, one person to serve as a translator. We wound up buying him some expensive sushi at the end of the trip. Dinner.
I was gonna say, like, that's a
lot
of work. I hope,
yeah,
I hope you got something out of it.
we were supposed to at the end of the trip have omakase, which is a style of sushi menu where you like pay a preset price and you kind of specify what kind of taste you want, and the chef prepares it for you and just serves you course after course. It's like a $60 per person entry just to get into the restaurant and start like eating food. But the reservation was slightly wrong, and we didn't get the omakase. We just eat the regular sushi. So we had not that the sushi was bad that we didn't get the omakase service. We did manage to have like a whole bunch of tuna. We got to have urchin sushi. We got to have sashimi. We got to have we had a lot of good tuna steak. I guess this is part of the benefit of having the Tsukiji market. There's a lot of really good tuna. We had good tuna steak. We had tuna spare ribs. Those were fantastic at this place in Shibuya.
Interesting concept.
Tuna spare ribs. Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like the bone of the tuna with the meat like falling off of it.
That sounds great.
You got my attention, yeah.
Yeah, of course. There are only a handful of things that get Lotus's attention when it pertains to food, and like
something spare ribs.
Anything that stands on its own without sauce, or for which the sauce can be placed on the side and then used at your
barbecue
leisure.
sauce. Yeah.
Do you have any barbecue sauce for your tuna spare ribs?
There's one thing that I noticed that I guess I also noticed when I was over in Europe that I always think is really funny, which is that like a tiny little can of Skippy peanut butter is always in the American section of the supermarket, and it always costs like $5 like for a tiny little can about like this big, which I can't guesstimate the size, like 8 ounces or something.
Yeah.
So it's always like, if you want a taste of America, not that you would when you're visiting a foreign country, but if you really need peanut butter and jelly, it'll cost you like $10.
But choosy mothers choose Jif.
Like you could have Michelin star ramen for $10, or you can have a fucking peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. Put the jelly on the side.
Wow.
Nice.
Jesus.
So at the end of the Kyoto part of the leg of the trip, we took a boat ride. It was about an hour and a half. Apparently, this is some like historical boat ride that they've been doing for like the royalty since the 1600s.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. We got to see a lot of the scenery. Like Japan, despite being really well known as a high tech like urban country, it has a lot of nature too. Like it's got this nice dichotomy, this juxtaposition where you have these really beautiful like forests and mountains alongside these like very clean cities. And so that was a nice sort of break on the trip. It was one of the most memorable parts of the trip, to just spend all this time sitting, rafting down the river, being guided, seeing the nature. And then at the end, this like souvenir boat came up to us and docked next to us and like tried to sell you like overpriced beer and like mochi and teriyaki chicken and stuff like that.
It's like reverse pirates. They just like board you, except they want you to buy stuff.
Yeah, it was really funny because we knew the boat ride was about 90 minutes long. We were like, oh, this is the intermission. They're selling us food so we can make it the rest of the trip. But nope, we were already at the end. And they're just like, they come because they know that you've been on the boat for like 85 minutes and you're hungry. And so they want to sell you stuff before you realize you're about to get back on land. And can buy whatever food you want.
Wow.
After that, we went to Osaka for a day and a half. We got to see Dotonbori, which is like the famous merchant street in the area. I got to go to Don Quixote, which is like the Walmart. It's like 6 stories.
Don Quixote, that's the restaurant that's from Yakuza. I didn't know they made a real one.
It's not a restaurant. It's a
or not a restaurant. It's like a convenience store.
Yeah.
Did they actually play that song? Because it's like burned into my brain.
I don't.
Impossible Dream.
I don't recall. No. I know that in
like the song that's about Don Quixote. Yeah.
In the 7-Elevens, they play the 7-Eleven song, which is "Sweet Dream Believer" from the Monkees, but repurposed as a 7-Eleven song.
Oh.
And so, they just play it constantly in the 7-Elevens. It's so annoying.
Yeah, because that's the thing, Vyse. In Yakuza, like whenever you walk by a Don Quixote, you always hear the music start from the same point. So like that 1 3-second little bit, like the song is way longer, but that one little bit is just in my ear forever. It's like, god damn it! Like it almost makes me want to go in the store just so I can hear something more than just like Quixote. It's like, stop it.
Wow. I will say we never went to Kamurocho, so.
Well, doesn't Kamurocho like not exist?
That's the point.
Yeah,
that's the joke.
But Don Quixote does. Kamurocho's real to me.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Sega doesn't really exist.
Oh! Yeah, there are no Sega arcades. You couldn't get claw games of Panzer Dragoon figures.
Actually, Sega arcades still do exist.
Ah, nice.
Sega apparently like rules the arcade scene right now in Japan. They are like the biggest distributor and purveyor of like big arcade machines.
You gotta go. You gotta go play Taiko, Virtua Fighter 2, and whatever the hell that weird shooter's called. That I think probably only exists in Yakuza.
Boxelios.
Yeah, Boxelios.
Yeah. Apparently, it's really fun.
It's pretty sweet, dude.
It's not bad. Yeah. I wouldn't play it more than like twice.
No, but like to show off, it's like, look at this Boxelios game. Like,
apparently, shmup people really love that.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It was not something I expected to be in Yakuza, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Club Sega is real. We went there and we lost like $30 in crane games. Like I know this because Mr. Ryu is excellent at crane games, but you get a sense after a while of like which crane games are where it's actually possible to like win, and which ones are set up to just like make you spend a lot of money. And some of them, the prizes were like cute enough or interesting enough that it was worth spending some money on it. Or I couldn't stop myself from spending some money on it, justifying the fact that it might have been worthwhile for the fun, the hope of actually getting a little Kirby doll or something. Although in I guess it was Osaka, we went to the aquarium, the same one that Mr. Ryu went to. They're famous for their whale sharks, and at the end we went to a little mall attached to it that had a center with some UFO catchers, and one of them just had like, one of them was full of just like these little squeeze toys that were just like a boob. I was like,
freaking Japan.
This is we are definitely in Japan now. And it was one of the most predatory UFO catchers. Like I was staring at this for a while and I was like, it's impossible to get this thing out of this machine. I have no idea like who even plays this.
And regarding whale sharks, like I heard that despite being the largest shark, they're actually quite friendly and pretty much harmless to humans.
Yeah, I mean, they left them in the tank with, like, a whole bunch of other fish. It's not like they were eating all the other fish.
Oh, that's cool. Like, I've heard that, like, I mean, not that they're gonna, like, let you do this, but apparently, like, in the ocean, like, humans have just grabbed onto one of their fins and just, like, taken a ride.
Nice.
Like, that's awesome.
No, they did not let me do that at the aquarium.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I mean, I could have tried to do it of my own volition. But
Old man swimming.
This was, like, a common theme, Japan's society is very structured, so it's like, what could we do that would potentially get us thrown out of the country?
Yeah,
it became a running gag for a while. I guess swimming with the whale sharks in the Osaka aquarium.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah,
any kind of drug possession at all.
Yeah, that too.
That's extremely illegal.
We didn't do that. We didn't do that. It wasn't necessary. I had enough fun on my own. Plenty of beer, plenty of sake.
There you
Don't
go.
worry about it. I had a good time.
Wow.
So after Osaka, we went back to Tokyo for the last few days. We got to check out a couple of the really tall buildings, which supposedly had great views of Mount Fuji, but it was raining like this whole second week of the trip. So actually, while we were going up the Skytree, one of the tallest buildings in Tokyo. They give you a little sign that says, like, don't bother buying a ticket. You won't be able to see anything when you get up there.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty cool of them to do, though.
It was nice of them to do that. And, like, you could go outside and you could see that the building was, like, literally inside a cloud.
Oh, wow.
Like,
wow.
If I had known about this beforehand, I would have not even bothered, like, trying to go up to the top. But, they're all, like, in these, like, really nice shopping centers full of, like, good food to eat. I think that day we had yakisoba for the first time. So like everything that I saw in my Japanese animes, I got to have. I never like went running with a piece of melon bread hanging out of my mouth. But we did have a lot of good melon bread.
What is melon bread?
So actually, this is a funny story. We got off the plane at the airport and we were like, oh, let's get some melon bread. So we go to the first shop that we see outside the arrivals gate, and we buy like a piece of melon bread. And, you know, it's like a little bun, and it had like melon-tasting filling inside it. My wife eats one, she's like, oh, it's delicious. And so we go, and we talk to Sky Yoshia, who's our tour guide, the Japanese national, and he says, like, oh, you know why they call it melon bread? It's just because it's shaped like a melon. It has like the hatch pattern, like melon skin on it. And I was like, but it has the melon filling in it too, right? It's like, no, it doesn't have the melon filling. What did you eat? It's like the airport lied to me. My melon pan had melon filling in it. It's like, no, that's not what it's supposed to have. It's just bread. It's easy to make.
You were duped.
Oh, see, the reason why I'm interested in it is actually something really obscure. So, unlike anything else I've ever talked about, yes. So one of the bosses on the on Black's board game in Gunstar Heroes, his name is Melon Bread, and I've always thought it very odd. So like
wasn't everybody named after food though? There was like orange and stuff like that.
Oh well, they're all named after colors.
Colors, yeah.
The main characters are red, blue, and green.
Okay.
The villain's gold and silver.
There's the ultimate villain is gold and silver, but there's also Colonel Crimson. The sister who's yellow. There's a whole bunch of the professor's name is White.
Yeah, they keep it in the advanced version too, right? Because the General Green is the guy who has the 7 Force in the advanced version of the game.
Well, yeah. Advance is the sequel. So, but the Green is the brother who went rogue. He's like the Zex Marquis. He eventually like does a heel face turn. He turned, to use a little bit of OldManStompy's lingo here. He's face and then heel and then face again. So, but yeah, there's a lot of the bosses' names are on that board game are named after foods. Like one of the famous bosses is the boss where you actually don't have any, you can't use any weapons. You actually have to fight him hand to hand, and he's called Curry and Rice.
Huh.
Yeah, he's really goofy too, but he's also one of the hardest bosses in the game.
Well, I have nothing much to add to that other than, like, if you go to, like, a 7-Eleven or whatever, one of the easiest things to buy if you just want a snack is just, like, various breaded items. So, like, we bought melon pan a few times, which didn't have the melon filling most of the time, of course. We bought, like, actual baked melon bread when we went back to Asakusa the second time around to see the temple. The renovation was done after the week and a half, like, in between our trips. And so that's another big area where there's like a lot of street food and a lot of souvenirs. That's a common theme. Most of the major tourist areas have lots and lots and lots of souvenir shops. Japan has a healthy tourism industry, so we had a chance to like buy some dried food to bring back, and also like some actual baked melon pan. I had maple flavored bread. That was the first time I had seen that. It was pretty good. Certainly can't complain. I think that that day we also had omu rice, which is like the the rice with the really liquidy omelet that you like cut open, and the omelet just like spills out over the rice, and then you eat it like mixed in. It's like really fluffy omelet on top of rice. I definitely recommend finding a good omu rice place if you have time to find one. We also went to the Eorzea Cafe, because it wouldn't be an episode of Corrective Consciousness if I didn't talk about Final Fantasy XIV for a little bit.
Yes.
So we made reservations at the Final Fantasy XIV themed cafe. It turns out it's in a building run by this company called Pacella Resorts, and they just have like 20 themed cafes, one that they run, and they swap in and out as they pick up and lose licenses.
That's pretty
cool.
cool.
And one of them happens to be the Eorzea Cafe. There's one in Tokyo and there's one in Osaka near Dotonbori. We went to the Tokyo one. It started out by them like running a raffle, because in 14 there's this scratch-off game called Cacpot. It's like a play on Jackpot, but with cactars. And they give you a little ticket, and they run a raffle at the start. And if you win, they play the Final Fantasy victory music, and they give you this giant Moogle cake.
Wow.
They run it for every meal session that they do. They let people in, give everybody a ticket, run the raffle.
That's
we
cool.
got third prize for little cactar pin.
Nice. And if you lose, you get 1,000 needles or 10,000 needles.
If you lose, you don't get anything.
Oh.
You get ignored by this.
If you lose, Cactuar runs away.
Yes. So we got a free drink for reserving in advance, which is pretty nice. All the drinks and all the meals are themed after like characters from the game.
Nice.
And the food itself is like based off of food that you can cook as a chef class.
So is the Tidus drink really annoying?
Well, I mean, Tidus isn't in 14.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
I get it.
That wasn't funny. No one is laughing. All right. Anyway, so we were taking pictures of all the food in the menu. We were sending it back to like the guilds, and we were asking them to like find us pictures of what the food looked like. Because my wife is a chef class in the game, and she's not high level enough. Took some of the delicious meals they serve at the Eorzea Cafe. So she's like, "Oh my god, I gotta like level up, and I gotta make this for myself in the game." I was like, "But you can eat it now." And
Yeah.
They do the Russian roulette takoyaki, where like one of the balls is full of wasabi.
Oh yeah, I had never heard of that before, but I actually saw that in, of all things in the world, Corpse Party Blood Drive. I think it might have been bread or something, but yeah, they had a Russian roulette game with that. And,
so we've had it before. There's a restaurant in St. Mark's in Manhattan called Kenka that we visit occasionally, if it hasn't been condemned for health violations, which happens like once a year or so. And they serve Russian roulette takoyaki. It's the first time I was introduced to it. So yeah, they also serve it at the Eorzea Cafe, except it's like super obvious, like the wasabi is like leaking out of the takoyaki ball. They didn't do a very good job of disguising which one you're not supposed to eat.
Yeah.
So nobody accidentally wound up eating the bullet.
Nobody bit the bullet.
Yeah. Nobody bit the bullet. Yes, thank you.
I don't get it.
Well, it's an expression, you see.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Now I get it.
That's enough of that.
Yes.
Yes. It's never enough.
That's great.
So yeah, let's see what else. In terms of the arcades, there's a Square Enix game. Like, there's a whole floor these days taken over by like card battling games, which we never had. We I guess there's no incentive for them to bring them over to round one, which is the only way we'd possibly be exposed to it. They look really cool, and I remember like being really disappointed that I didn't have the time or the money to like invest in getting to understand the game.
But now, when you say card battling games, do you mean like do they play like some of the console video games we have gotten over here, like Baten Kaitos or Phantasy Star Online 3 or something?
No, I mean like it's called Lord of Vermilion. I think is the most popular one. It's a Square Enix game. There's like a field that looks like a card battling field, and I guess it's an electronic game.
Okay.
So that was fun. There's still a lot of Imani. There are like entire floors of music games. One of the popular new ones is called My. It looks like a washing machine, and like the buttons you push are in a circle around the screen. It's just like kind of creative. I've seen like this really weird video of a guy like trying to kick the My buttons, like roundhouse kick them to clear a song. It's up there with like somebody playing a non Dance Dance Revolution game on a DDR pad. Like
yeah. I think my
like...
favorite one of those I've seen was in the first Dark Souls. Somebody beat Ornstein and Smaug with like the Donkey Kong like bongos.
Yeah,
and it's like,
well, I mean, I wasn't kidding. Somebody beat Cuphead with a DDR pad.
That's nuts.
Wow.
Because like my favorite comment on that video, by the way, was like, at first I was watching this and saying, "Oh, dude, you missed out on this opportunity. Oh, and you should have been doing this." But then I remember he's playing with the fucking bongos. Never mind.
Yeah, I've heard this every time I've heard someone play with like a specialized controller, that like the economy of actions that you have to perform and keep in mind all the time is just like incredibly stressful.
Yeah, I think somebody also like you know that famous level in GoldenEye in the 64, like if you could beat the facility on secret 00 Agent in under 2 minutes and like 5 seconds, you get the invincibility cheat, and getting that is bullshit. Like somebody did that with like the Wii steering wheel. It's like
nice.
Jesus.
If I'm not mistaken, like depending upon the spawn and like the behavior,
you just can't.
Like that could be impossible.
Yeah, the
like,
character you have to meet, you better hope he's like on your route. If not, then just restart.
Nice. Wow.
Because even if you do everything right, you are on a tight schedule.
Jesus.
So what else? We went to the Artnia Cafe, which is another Square Enix like location. This time in Shinjuku, and it was the best place we went to for like Square Enix related merchandise. I bought both of the soundtrack CDs for Final Fantasy Record Keeper.
Hey,
neat.
It's kind of an oddball thing to get, and I mean I think they're available on iTunes, so I didn't really need to buy the CDs. But
yeah, but now you're keeping the records.
Yes, I literally have. Well, not literally.
Yeah,
records,
if only you'd gotten
like,
the vinyls. Yeah.
I have your record now.
Yeah.
Yes, Vyse is the record keeper among us.
Look at me. I am the record keeper.
Now I've got your record.
You know what's funny is that guy was actually in the Blade Runner sequel.
Oh, really? Did you say, look at me, I'm the replicant now?
Well, I actually said that to my girlfriend in the movie, and she totally got it because
I hope that every single movie that guy's in, he has a look at me, I'm the contextually relevant now.
That's his I'll be back moment. Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that it's in the trailer on top of everything else, so like everybody knows about that.
Yeah, I've never even seen the movie, and that's the one thing I do know about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, like next to the CD area, the Artnia Cafe, they have like this really beautiful like art room where it's like got a bunch of like sculpted windows in it, and they all hold like play arts figures and special artwork they're selling at the cafe. And in the center, they've got this like waterfall coming down on a chest of materia. It's supposed to be a reference to, I guess, Advent Children. And I have to mention this.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And I have to mention this in the podcast because I like wandered into that room and I was in there for like 20 minutes. And apparently my wife never found it because it's like in a corner of the cafe. And she's like really mad at me I didn't tell her about it. So I have to brag to all my friends about how awesome it was that I got to see it. It's a really tiny cafe, so it's really surprising to think that like it's like there's like enough room for like 6 tables and like a couple of merchandise shelves, and then this like giant semi-hidden like art cafe like, waterfall area. The only thing I didn't like about it was just that like the square play arts figures are so ugly that they stand out amongst everything else. Like they're really notorious for having like awful, terribly sculpted faces.
Wow.
And so they're just like staring at you while you're like.
Now I kind of want play arts to make a figure of me so you can see like a terribly sculpted, derpy like Lotus face.
Lotus Prince face. You know, once I thought about getting you making a bobblehead of you and giving it to you as a present.
Oh
like,
man,
'cause you can do that.
But then you remembered I already have a derpy, terribly sculpted face.
That's pretty good.
Lotus is saying what we're all thinking.
Oh, I didn't think you'd actually thought it.
Well, I mean, now that we use webcams to do the podcast, I have to stare at your derpy, poorly.
Yeah, wow, look at that poorly sculpted face. Yeah, was it always that bad?
So yeah, that was the end of my Tokyo experience, I think. The last thing I will say is that I'm surprised at how little jet lagged I am, both coming and going. Like the first day, I stayed awake through the flight, and I was a zombie through dinner. I was like literally falling asleep at the table.
Yeah.
But I had no problems waking up in the morning the entire rest of the trip. I slept a little bit on the plane, and for the most part, my sleeping schedule has like pretty much resumed what it used to be.
Nice.
In the States after the first day. So I don't know what it is. You think that like it's a 13-hour time difference. That's about as bad as it gets in terms of being out of sync.
Yeah.
And I had like kind of an oddball sleep schedule to begin with, you know, because I like I get home from work and I usually like sleep for about an hour and a half. I get about one full sleep cycle in because my wife stays up really late. She's a night owl, and then so that way I can stay up late with her and still get like 6 hours more of sleep before I go to work the next day. But I just like fell right back into that slot now that I've come back.
Cool.
The guys know this because I woke up from that nap to get on this podcast.
Yeah.
I was like dead to the world for about 2 hours.
More like old man sleepy.
But yeah, we went to the Nara Deer Park, which is a park that has this like giant Buddha statue and a shrine, and also like these deer that are just wandering all over the place.
Oh,
and they're
cool.
extremely aggressive, and they sell you crackers at your own risk, and the deer just
dear.
Yes, oh dear. I have a video of my wife getting eaten by a deer. Like
getting eaten by a deer. You
it
could have saved her
like,
life, but instead you got video.
Oh, was she hanging on for dear life?
I have to. Yes, she was hanging on for dear life. Thank you, Vyse. That's why we're here.
She should have hoofed it.
You owe me $1.
Oh
dear.
Took me a second. Yeah.
Do I do?
Let's hook
do I
the rest of the podcast here.
So yeah, I mean, there's like, I'm glad that it was raining that day because there was just like deer shit everywhere, like all over the park. And it's actually like really funny because the deer don't squat when they take a poop. So we were just sitting there watching somebody else get assaulted by the deer because they had the crackers, and the deer just like stands there and his like butt just like irises open like a Star Trek door, and just like poop
like a Star Trek door.
I'm not joking. I do not recommend like staring at a deer's butt hoping this happens if you ever go to Nara, but like that's what it was like.
It's just like anything else pooping. Like it's not fun to watch it.
Yeah, so it was just like all over the floor. And yeah, like so you buy these crackers and the deer just like come at you. They start headbutting you, like waiting for your food. They start chewing on all your clothes. I guess like my hypothesis is that like they learn that part of you is made of food, so they assume the rest of you is also made of food.
Nice.
Wow.
And thus deer became carnivorous.
Mm-hmm. And like you can buy I bring up the deer pooping thing like a joke, but you can actually buy a little plush of a deer. I have it right now. Like I'll show that to you. This is a little plush deer. See?
Hey.
And it has like a little poop that comes out of it, and the poop has a little face on it.
For God's
wow.
sake.
Only in Japan do they make like poop cute.
Well, I mean, South Park tried, right?
Yeah.
That was a joke, though.
Well, I mean, this is a joke. I can't imagine this is not at least partially ironic.
Yeah.
It's pooping deer plush.
That's
we were cracking up in the souvenir shop. I was like, if we get one souvenir this entire trip, it has to be this.
If only they had a pooping sheep, that would have just made your existence.
I could have bought a lot of sheep charms. Like they have a lot of zodiac stuff, so there were a lot of opportunities to buy like sheep things.
Huh.
So both the Chinese and the Eastern zodiac.
Nice.
I mean the
Western zodiac. Yeah.
Right. So I had many opportunities to buy sheep. I didn't buy very many plush. I went to a Pokemon Center. I bought a Mew.
Nice.
So I mean, I had always been intending to go to the Pokemon Center, one of them in Tokyo, because I know there's one in New York City, which is great. It's now a overall Nintendo store, but it used to be a Pokemon Center, and they get like cast-off merchandise, like selections of stuff that's no longer on sale at the main Tokyo one. So
nice.
To get Pokemon stuff from the source is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they had all the games. They had like setups to play Pokken Tournament, of course.
Yeah.
I guess I was surprised. I had never seen a Pokken Tournament arcade machine in the wild until I went to arcades in Japan. I'd forgotten that was a real thing.
I kind of like the idea of like a Pokemon Center. You know, the place where you go to heal your Pokemon, and then you have these machines where it's like, now beat the shit out of each other, like right here in the center.
I mean, that's what the Pokemon world is like. It's like the only safe spot in the entire... Like, anywhere else in the game is fair game for a Pokemon battle.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of funny that the Pokemon tournament would be in the Pokemon Center. It's like, even this place isn't safe.
Sure. I remember spending a lot of time looking for Final Fantasy XIV merchandise, and like even the Eorzea Cafe didn't really have a lot because they've moved on to Noctis and his buddies in the road trip now, and the 30th and also the 30th anniversary celebration. So that was a bit painful. I wish I had gone game shopping more because I realized that like Japan is the only place where people still sell like physical Vita games.
Yeah.
Yeah, like so here you gotta do it. You gotta like pre-order them online on Amazon or something, or like pick up like whatever the hell random like.
It's not even worth it anymore.
Yeah, at GameStop they have like 15 Vita games.
Or they're on sale for like 30 seconds on limited run games.
Yeah, I mean the vast majority of Vita games that come out now are not exclusive at all.
They're also like a lot of them are just like very very Japanese games.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
come out on PS4 or Steam as well.
Yeah, but no, I was gonna say though, I actually did just buy a Vita game like Bad Apple Wars because like day one.
Never even heard of that.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a GameStop exclusive, or at least the day one edition was. But it's another one of those, like, I don't know if I would call Danganronpa a visual novel, but like those kinds of games where like it's a lot of character dialogue and stuff like that. But
I need to look this up. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of interesting, and, like, I promise you, no one's heard of it before, no one knows about it now, no one's going to know about it later. Like, you either someone told you about it or they didn't, you know?
That's a common way to wind up buying a physical game at GameStop. Like, you have, like, one day to do it, usually.
I mean, it's available enough online, but I happened to see, like, the actual thing at the store, and I was actually, like, this past weekend, there was, like, a deal, like, buy two pre-owned things, get one free at like particular locations. So I was like, oh, I'll check them out and see if there's anything interesting. So I went to like several GameStops, and only one of them had any copies of this Bad Apple Wars. And the thing is, that game is brand new, and like only one GameStop had one copy. I'm like, what is going on? How rare is this thing?
Yeah, I don't know, like GameStop is usually pretty good at having games at release. I remember like even trying to find Fire Emblem Warriors for the Switch, like the other big box stores like Best Buy. Most Best Buys didn't have it.
Yeah, I didn't see any physical copies. The only copy I saw was for the 3DS, and I think the collector's edition or whatever, limited edition or whatever for the Switch, I only saw anything about that on like Best Buy's online page.
Right. The major stores, they seem to be a bit slow about putting inventory out. They don't always require that it's out at opening on the first day the game is released, just because that's not true. Like a major driver of their revenue. GameStop, however, always has it.
Yeah, they cycle quickly. Yeah.
Right. Wow. So yeah, that was the majority of my Japan trip. Certainly, it was an hour's worth of discussion about my trip to Japan. I hope I hit a lot of notes that Pyro didn't hit. I hope I didn't just.
You almost exclusively have unique notes. Yeah.
It would be funnier if I like totally accidentally said
just
exactly
the Gundam
everything that Pyro said.
Yeah, it was just the Gundam. Yeah, it would have been funny if you're like, what was the Pyro's podcast like? And it's just like all the emotions. Just like, oh, come on.
Literally all this. Well, I hoped by doing the Grand Blue thing that I hit something that he didn't get to do because he asked me to do that.
I just go to my YouTube analytics page and you see everything falls off after like the first 6 minutes. It's like, oh, it's the same shit.
Nice. Wow. So yeah, I would like to go back to Japan one day, but man, 12 hours on a plane is a lot of hours on a plane.
Yeah, like I would like to go to Japan once, but like that, just the plane ride intimidates me. Like the longest flight I've ever been on was like 7 hours, and that was already like mind-numbing to me.
That was Scotland?
Yeah, it was 7 hours plus an hour and a half, so the longest single flight I had was 7. I was just like, oh god, when is this going to be over?
Right. So anyway, overall it was a great trip. It's a beautiful country. Lots to see and do. Just like your Japanese animes.
Oh man. Did you see Garugamesh?
I did not see Garugamesh. I did not see Gojira.
And Game Man.
I did see in like Washington State.
I did do a lot of. I got to do a lot of authentic Japanese stuff. Like I drank at Starbucks, and I went to a
McDonald's.
Store.
Yeah.
So yeah, like apparently Ruby's pretty popular, and like one of the major department stores had like a store.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. Yeah, you're like, oh, an authentic Japanese anime. I mean, that is really cool though. It shows how ubiquitous it's become. Like it's actually like hit mainstream Japan, and they have like high end voice actors. Like they have the voice actor who did Matoi Ryuko from Kill la Kill doing one of the characters. It's like this is like a big deal.
And it's like it's much more effort than they put into the American voice acting cast. Not that they're bad; they're actually quite good.
Well,
for
the
their
American
roles,
cast
like,
stepped up. The American cast got some high profile voice actors as well, like in the later seasons.
Yeah, no, but they're fine. But like one of them was Monty Oum, like the creator of the show.
Oh, when it first started, nobody knew what it was.
Like,
yeah, but
one
of
them was like one of the major characters was what's her name, Christina Negri, who's not a voice actor; she's a cosplayer. Like,
yeah, Jessica, no, I know, but like once it got popular, though, they really stepped it up, and then Japan did too.
Yeah, Jessica Negri. Yeah, so like they're great. Like I actually really enjoy the acting on the show very much. I don't mean to demean any of the actresses just because they're not well known. They're very talented. But yeah, another remarkable thing is just that we went to like Uniqlo and Muji's, which are like cool. regular stores in Manhattan. They're expensive, because they have the patina of being exotic and foreign and imported goods. Yeah. But they're just like Muji stuff. You can just buy it at like the 7-Eleven.
That's kind of funny.
It's actually it's a low grade brand in Japan.
Yeah, it's kind of like H&M, like in Japan.
Yeah, and like those stores still exist. Like we went to some of the high end and medium end malls, and they had like Forever 21.
Oh wow.
Like... Yeah, we went to Forever 21 because my wife needed a shirt to play DDR with me, and that wasn't like that she could afford to ruin by getting sweaty.
Do they have American Eagle?
I did not see American Eagle.
Oh, well, what a surprise!
I did not see Guess jeans. Those are supposed to be like really expensive in Japan.
Oh.
Did you see an Al Johns?
I did not. I did not see an Al Johns.
Yeah, hey, Vyse, we should go to Al Johns.
I didn't see an Oyama Sushi. I didn't see a Chipotle. I didn't see a halal guys. I guess.
Bobby's Burger Palace.
Manhattan has a few things that Japan does not have.
Well, actually, for real though, did you get any like exotic like Kentucky Fried Chicken?
We got some exotic Kit Kat bars.
Okay.
Like that's a requirement.
Yeah.
We had the teriyaki burger at McDonald's.
Got your green tea and red bean Kit Kat bars.
I love those.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I generally like the red bean flavor. I'm not a huge fan of green tea.
I love those.
It's a bit bland to me, but the black sesame and the red bean stuff I really like.
Awesome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's about an hour of me talking about Japan and a little bit of Vyse talking about his girlfriend. So
thank you for revealing to us exactly the same thing that Pyro did.
Yeah.
And, please refer back to our previous episode if you want to hear a more interesting version of it.
I can't help that Pyro is just a more interesting person. Sorry. Should have just had him on the podcast, and he could have imagined what my trip was like.
Yes.
Oh, I already could have because I listened to the previous podcast. So, no problem there. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings for the same exact episode we already produced. It helps us promote. And
don't even fucking bother. Just call Pyro up on the phone. I'll give you his coordinates, and he'll just tell you something which is more interesting than anything that we're going to talk about.
The latitude, longitude, and sea level.
Depth. Yeah.
Z coordinates are necessary, or else you'll end up in a mountain somewhere. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps more of us go to Japan and do the same exact bullshit. You can catch us on Tuesday for our other sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, where we won't talk about the same thing, but maybe on Thursday we'll talk about the same thing. And finally, you can friend me as Vyse the Bold, because I'm a great friend, apparently, on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me at PyroJackFrost on PSN, where you can hear about a more interesting version of my life, or you can find me as OldManStompy on most major gaming networks if you want to hear a less interesting version of my life. But why would you?
Well, thanks again for wasting our fucking time. We'll see you on Tuesday. Baka.
Until next time, everyone.
Nani? Vyse wa daiki right.
Watashi wa asshole.
Goodbye,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Okay, so let's get ready to sync. Ready, set,
1, 2, 3.
What was too good? How was 2?
Whatever. I'll still approximate your voices, and then when the actual thing starts, I'll sync Vyse's voice with his own
Justin
voice.
Justin will just redo everyone's voice on his own.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Vyse the Bold. Hello, I'm OldManStompy.
Nice.
Wow, hi guys.
I have a deeper voice.
So how was your trip, OldManStompy? It was quite sugoi, Lotus Prince.
Oh man. Again, the best stuff is not going to make it into the podcast.
that bit
can that be our secret sound? Like, please, can you put that at the end of can that be a secret sound?
Maybe, I guess.
Okay, cool.